Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to make these crystals. I think I can do a very big geo based on what I saw. I figured out some mistakes I've been making, and I can't wait to go home and try it. I still have a big box of bismuth, and hopefully the tariffs will end soon. I got a really big pot for making a bismuth geode. But did you know there is an ever small probability that you could be holding a bismuth geode and it will instantly, spontaneously become gold as you're holding it? And you can actually calculate, or at least estimate, how low that probability is. To understand why, bismuth 209 has a half-life of 2 times 10 to the 19 years, and it decays into thallium 205. This was discovered, believe it or not, in 2003. Now, the tricky part about measuring the half-life of bismuth 209 is that getting a good pure sample of bismuth 209 is not as easy as it sounds, right? So the stuff I buy from China, I think has 4 nines to it. I think the trickiest part is getting the you can probably separate all the lead, all the antimony from that's probably not hard. The hardest part is getting the bismuth 210 out of there, because all the properties of bismuth 209, bismuth 210 is going to have, and obviously even a trace amount of bismuth 210 in here would throw all of this off, right? Because of the difference in the half lives of the two, right? I guess you could differentiate the difference in the alpha particle energies, right? They're probably a little bit different. But decays into thallium 205. Thallium 205 has an unmeasurably long half-life that becomes gold 201. This is actually not the kind of gold that you want to wear on your finger, though, because it has a half-life of less than 1 day, mercury 201, and then an unmeasurably long half-life to platinum 197, and finally a really quick half-life into the stuff of wedding rings, gold 197. And you can calculate. Let's suppose you had a kilogram of bismuth, which is a considerable amount to use for a crystal, right? A kilogram is more of a solid piece of bismuth, like a Buddha or a Ganesh. That's about 5 moles of bismuth, right? Because bismuth has a molar mass of 209, obviously. And so you got 3 times 10 to the 24 atoms. Now, let's suppose you want all of your bismuth to become gold in 1 second. There are 6 times 10 to the 26 seconds in that many years, which means that every atom has this probability of becoming thallium. Let's suppose that these two half-lives are very similar to that. That's a big assumption, by the way. That means that this thing, as rare as it is, has to happen 3 times per atom, but this whole thing has to happen for every atom in there, right? So you got to raise this all the way to the number of atoms as your power. So this is what you have. This is the probability. This is the probability of one atom becoming gold. And then you raise it to the number of atoms. So let's suppose this equals x. You can take the log base 10 on both sides, and then use your exponent rule for logs, right? 3 times 10 to the 24 times the log of whatever's in here. Use your product rule for logs, and you get this scientific notation number. In other words, x is 10 to the power of basically 10 to the 26, right? 10 to the 10 to the 26, right? So 10 to the 26 is already an unfathomably large number, right? If you had a 1 in 10 to the 26 chance of winning the lottery, right? Well, actually, that's more like winning the lottery multiple times in a row, right? Imagine going out and buying a lottery ticket every day for a week and winning each time, right? You probably have a better than 1 in just that number chance of winning every day, right? But this is 10 to that number, right? So there is a small chance you could be holding a bismuth crystal, poof, it all turns into gold, right? Of course, it might kill you in the process, right? There's also the chance that you could take some Pepto-Bismol and then it becomes gold in your, that would almost certainly kill you, right? And then at your autopsy, hey, wait a minute, this guy swallowed gold, how did he die? It would probably kill you pretty horrifically, too. It'd probably be like Alexander Litvinenko, right, who swallowed polonium-210, right? There's a small chance of that, but it's so small that in the history of everybody taking Pepto-Bismol, you probably have a better chance of just dying from bismuth poisoning or some allergy to it, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.